Okay, in this video, I'm going to be going over some basic spins for the staff. In Korean, the term for staff is bong. When we use a staff, you have to remember that it's an extension of your body. So any hip motion or anything like that that you would do with the staff, you're still going to, or do without the staff, you're still going to do with the staff. So don't just assume that since you have a weapon in your hand, that you don't have to still apply the same principles of increasing your power that you would without a weapon. So if you see here, I'm in an attention position. And in attention position, my staff is tucked underneath my right side, behind my right arm and shoulder, and my feet are together just as they would, and then my left hand is down at the side in this fashion. Okay? In order to move from attention to chumbi, I'm going to bring my staff out a little bit so that I can grab it with my left, bring it to the center, and then I bring my feet at that chumbi position, and my hands are at the same position as they would be if I didn't have a staff in my hand. Okay, so here I am in chumbi, and I go back to attention. I'm going to take my left, put it towards my right armpit, back underneath, and then my hand goes at the side. So from a side view, I'm at attention, my left goes to grip the weapon, and then you go to chumbi position, and then to go back. We're back here. So some quick notes before I get to the spins. The grip on the staff is not a very tight grip. So I'm just going to grip the staff with my thumb and my first finger and maybe my second finger. These two back fingers are guiding fingers, so they're very lightly on the weapon. So they're keeping the staff straight and going where I want it to go, but they're not really gripping. All right? You should never have a white-knuckled grip on your weapon. It makes it very difficult to spin. Another thing that you have to remember when you're working with the staff, especially with the spins, is that for the Korean styles of doing our forms, our thumbs are always facing each other. So just like that chumbi that we have without the weapon, it's the same type of hand position on the staff. Third thing, hand position. There's 1 to 2 hands, 2 fists in between my 2 hands in this. And then you have your center line directly in between the two. So when you hold the staff, there should be 1 to 2 fists in between yours for space. And then your center will be directly in between those 2 hands. All right, so as I'm spinning, remember, loose grip. Always have your thumbs facing each other, and make sure that you try your best to keep that 1 to 2 grips, 1 to 2 fists in between your hands, because if they go any further apart, it makes it very difficult to do a lot of the spins and strikes that we'll get to in another video. All right, when you're spinning and practicing, do not take your hand off and re-grip and reposition your weapon. Right? That's going to make it difficult to learn. We need the repetition of movement to help us get better spinning the staff. So if you find yourself in an incorrect position, go back to what I'm going to call neutral position if you get stuck. All right, and this is going to be the neutral is in front of your body to here, and this will help you get back into any position that you need to go to if you get stuck. But what you don't want to do is, if you find you're in your wrong hand position, is just take your hands and move them where you think they should be, because it's not going to teach you how to move your staff. It's just going to teach you where your hand should be and not give you the motion part of it. And the motion is the most important part. Right. So the first spin we're going to do is the propeller spin. Propeller spin, I'm going to start by gripping the staff in my left hand. All right. So I'm going to start this way, and then I'm going to put my right hand over top, kind of like if they're tied together. All right, so if somebody were to tie my hands together, if I'm a hostage or something like that, and they're going to drag me away this way. So my hands are tied together in this fashion. I want to keep them in this position throughout the entire propeller spin. My left hand is going to take the staff and spin so that my thumb is down. My right hand will then make a chopping motion across to keep the staff moving until it grips it. And at that point, my left hand will let go as my right hand continues the spin. Now as my right hand continues the spin and the thumb goes down, the left hand is going to open and the thumb is where the stopper is for that. So now both hands are up in this spin. That's when we recatch. So then it spins, my right hand releases into my left hand. My left hand is now gripping again. And when we repeat the process. So this one does take a little bit of practice, especially if you're used to taking your hands apart and moving your hands up and back and around without having your wrists stuck together. But this, in my opinion, is the best way to keep from moving your hands all the way to the end of the staff by the time you're done spinning after a while. All right, so that's your basic propeller spin. The next basic spin is the forward figure eight. In all our figure eight spins, we're going to do double hand and single hand switching. So I'm going to go through the forward figure eight, and then I'm going to show you single hand, and then I'm going to show you single hand switching, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the reverse figure eight. So let's do the forward figure eight. All right. So in this instance, for the forward figure eight, and I like to keep it like an attention posture in this one because it gets my legs out of the way of the weapon. I'm going to start, and I'm going to bring the staff to my right side. So my left hand is across my body, and my right elbow is nice and high. And again, I still have that posture of both my thumbs are facing each other. I'm going to take my right hand and push the top half of the staff down and then across towards my left side. And then once I get to my left side, I'm starting to scoop up with that right side. Pull the left down and bring it around. So now that I'm in the position on the opposite side. So now my left hand is elbow up and my right arm is across my body. Pushing the left side now across and then back. So if you think of constantly pushing the top half around and switching hands on each side, that helps. Also, if you want to think of it as striking down with that top hand and then flipping and then striking down with the other hand and back and forth. So that's your forward figure eight, and as you get better, you can move faster and faster. Now, you should notice I'm moving my hips. It's like I mentioned, anything I would do without the weapon, I'm going to do with the weapon. So if I want some extra power in my spin, I'm going to move my hips. All right, so that's my forward figure eight, two hands. To do a single hand forward figure eight, you grip it in the middle of the staff. And then to do this one, I like to get into a narrow, almost like a fighter's posture, because it gets my body out of the way of this one. I'm going to focus more on the top half of the staff. So I'm going to bring it down, across my body, up, down, and around. So if I just worry about the top half, I'm drawing a figure eight up, around, and down, and back. Just worry about the top half of your staff. The back half will follow. If you use those back fingers as those guide hands, that'll keep you from flipping it across your body, which is a common mistake. If you forget about these guide fingers back here, it'll do things like flop around and go where you don't want it to. So you want to focus on that top half of your staff, just drawing that figure eight, back and forth and back and forth, and use your back fingers as your guide fingers. All right, now, and then once you get good at one side, we got to do the other side. So we have ambidextrous sides. We can switch with the weapon. All right, so that's forward figure eight with one hand. To do switching hands, I'm going to go back to more of an attention posture. I'm going to start my dominant hand. And I'm going to bring the staff around and down. Now, once the staff flips to where my palms would be both facing the ceiling or facing up, that's when I'm going to grip the weapon with my left hand and then continue the spin now with my left hand. and it comes across. So now my palms are up. I grab with the other hand. I bring it across my body. Palms are up. Bring it down, across my body. Palms are up. I grab. And then as I get better, I'm going to continue to do the switching motion. And that is forward figure 8, switching hands. Okay, so we have a reverse figure 8. I'm going to start reverse figure 8, 2 hands. So to start a reverse figure 8, I'm going to bring the staff across the left side of my body. Right elbow is going to be high across, and the back elbow, the left elbow rather, is going to be back almost in a chamber position. I'm going to start by bringing the top half of the staff towards the back of my left side, and then down, and then up. When I get to about the peak of the spin, I'm going to flip it. So now that I have the position that I started with on the opposite side, my left is across with the elbow high, my right hand back. I'm going to draw the top of the weapon back, down across my body, and up. And then at the peak is where I flip and I start the process all over again. It's a nice, smooth, reverse figure 8. Back and forth. Good. All right, so now we can do a single-handed reverse figure 8. I'm going to take my fighter's-like posture again. I'll start with my dominant hand, my right hand. I'm going to bring the staff across my body. I'm going to let the back half fall, the top half fall towards the back, and I'm going to draw straight up, almost like I'm making an upwards cut with a sword. I'm going to let that top half fall back to my body, the back half of my body again, and then draw up again. So think of, if I have a sword, I'm making upward cuts in this fashion. And I'm using my back fingers to guide the weapon so that the back half of the staff does not end up anywhere I don't want it. So it's making upward cuts, upward slices in this manner. So then I'll use the other side, same thing. Now I'm on my left side, my elbow's nice and high. I draw across my body. I let that top half fall to the back. I draw up. I let it go to my back. Drop, up. So I'm constantly driving the top of the weapon straight up. So reverse figure 8 drives the weapon upwards in this fashion. So that's your basic reverse figure 8 with a single hand. Now to do switching, I'm going to start with my dominant hand. I'm going to start in the same fashion that I did with the single hand, but now I'm going to take my more of a tension stance posture. I'm going to drive the hand up. As I bring it back around to do the second swipe up, this is when my left hand is going to grip. Again, palms are up when I switch hands. It starts to flip. Now that back half, the top half is going to fall to the back and drive up. I'm here again. I'm exchanging when my palms are up. Where it's facing the front, I'm going to let it drop towards the back and then make that up cut motion. So now I'm switching. Both switching spins exchange the staff when the palms are up in this fashion. And that is your basic switching hands reverse figure 8. Good. So then when we're done, we can take it to a chudiyat. All right, so Those are the basic spins, and some of those spins are actually used in some of the staff forms that we do. There are other advanced spins which I'm not going to get to in this video, for instance behind the back, above the head, and things like that. So work on those, because those will be used in some of your staff forms, and it does help with your control of the weapon. So you may not use the spinning in actual combat with the weapon, but it's going to help you realize that where your balance points are and how to quickly maintain your grip on the staff if you think you're going to lose it. It just helps to give you overall control of the weapon and give you a familiarity with this weapon. So happy spinning. Tong Su.